think we're live. We've got some people trickling in. It's on the West Coast, at least 10 a.m. on the dot. So we're going to wait just a few more minutes to let people get here. But just while we're waiting, just so everyone knows, my name is Brittany. I'm product marketer at Conductor One, so I'll be the host today. I'm in San Francisco. If you want to drop it in the chat, let us know where you are dialing in from. No one dials anymore, but where are you coming from? And we were just, before we got live here, we were just talking about our favorite kind of like holiday or winter cozy drinks. So if anybody wants to share theirs, we were talking about oolong tea. I know Spencer's a fan of matcha. Dom, what's yours right now?
My go-to right now or tomorrow is the peppermint mocha. I'm gonna definitely go for that.
Yeah. Spencer, besides matcha, do you have another go-to?
Just the milk tea with lots of way too much honey, way too much sugar in it.
No such thing. No such thing. Yeah, so I am not drinking anything warm right now because it's our San Francisco summer. Actually, today is quite rainy and cold, but it's been beautiful here. So I've still been on the cold brew. I'm sure I'll be switching over to some hot lattes soon. All right, we'll let a few more people trickle in, but maybe I'll go ahead and get started with just logistics and stuff while folks are coming on in. So officially, welcome. Thank you all for being here. We're so excited about this conversation. It's going to be meaty. It's going to give you a lot of great tips. So what we'll be talking about today is so long standing access, how Instacart cuts standing access and streamlined audits. And with me to talk about it are Dominic Zanardi and Spencer Sheehan, who are on the IAM engineering team, the InfoSec team at Instacart. So they are going to share all of the things they've been working on over there, which is some pretty cool stuff, really some modern identity workflows going on. So I'll have them introduce themselves in a minute, but just to level set so everybody knows the deal. This is going to be a great conversation, just casual, just the three of us talking. We really want you guys to be a part of it. So we've saved 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the conversation to open things up and have a question session. So please think about your questions. You can go ahead and drop them in the question section down there on your bottom right, and we will get to those at the end. If there's something you'd like answered right in the middle of the, just like a clarification while we're talking, feel free to throw that in there or throw it in the chat. We have moderators who can call that to our attention, and we'll try to get that answered right away, but we'll mostly save questions for the end. And this is being recorded. So if you need to drop, or if you know somebody who you think this would be really valuable for and you want to share it with them, we will send you a link after the fact and you'll be able to access it. All right, I think that's all logistics. So before we get into the discussion, Dom, why don't we start with you? Just tell me about your role at Instacart. What do you do there? Just so people kind of know where you're coming from. Oh, and is Dom frozen? He looks frozen.
Dom's frozen.
Oh no, okay. Okay, yes, Spencer, what do you do at Instacart?
So I used to be on the governance, risk, and compliance GRC team at Instacart for about 4 years. And so one of the main initiatives that I had to work on was Sarbanes-Oxley or SOX compliance. And that involved a lot of dealing with access control. So access provisioning, user access reviews, and that's kind of where Conductor One hits home hard, or hits close to home, is helping us reduce user access review effort, because that was sort of the bane of my existence.
The bane of your existence. I was going to say, at one point we were talking about this earlier, and you had said it was a horror show. And I thought, how appropriate if we'd done this last week before Halloween, right?
Very scary. Very scary.
Right. Dom, you're back.
Yeah.
And you're moving. Great. So yes, tell us about your role.
Yeah, for sure. So I joined Instacart about 2 years ago. Spencer and I work on the infrastructure security team, focusing primarily on cloud security, multiple platforms across the board. So Conductor One was a big part of us building out that program, and happy to talk about it here.
And that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about it. And yes, Dom, because you are really an architect of the system. So we're going to get into that with you, but I wanted to start with Spencer because you were there in the bad old days. So tell us about the before times. What did it look like?
The before times was bad. we had like 50. Well, we still have to. We have like 50 plus systems that are in scope that where access has to be appropriate. It has to be very appropriate, meaning that we have access control, we have access provision controls, we have to have approvals. We have, luckily, we have a lot of auto termination functionality, but we had to do user access reviews. So, for example, we had to do user access reviews for AWS. And I want to say it was in the hundreds of tickets that we had to assign like senior engineering, like managers or even directors or even VPs to approve access. And it was a script that our cloud team ran that basically said, hey, these are your direct reports. And they have the role called AWS developer and AWS admin and AWS something else, machine learning. And the manager would just say approved, and then we close the ticket. And our auditors were basically like, hey, what does that actually mean? Like, what do these roles actually do? Well, it's admin or it's developer, that's what it is. And so we would have to do these manual audits of roles, mapping to permissions, and was it appropriate? But that's kind of a different topic. But the user access reviews, I mean, it definitely took several days of like an engineer, like of their actual time to do this process four times a year.
Yeah. So I think you said at one point it was probably about a week of their time a year, and these are expensive engineers.
Of engineers. Senior engineering members. Yeah.
And guys asking in the chat, is this internal or external identity? So we're talking about internal identities, just to clarify. Yeah. Okay, so that was what we were looking at. And then I know you guys were planning to IPO. So that was one of the catalysts for we need to modernize the system. Like, first of all, you were growing like crazy, but also going to have these compliance requirements. So Don, that's kind of when you came on the scene. Maybe give us a sense of like what the vision there was and what you brought on to do.
Yeah, for sure. So I came
on
with Sully, who isn't here with us right now, but shout out to Sully. And Sully and I had a shared mindset that we should develop as much in code as possible. So when I say develop in code, literally the policies, the roles. I came in with knowledge of Terraform from prior experience. So when I realized that Conductor One had a Terraform provider, that kind of changed the game for us. So when I first came in, I mean, I pretty much jumped into the roles that existed already, expanded on them, but then built policies in code in Conductor One that the auditors could jump into GitHub and say, hey, we can look at the Git blame or the Git history of when this policy exactly changed. So having that kind of trace back made a huge difference.
Okay. Yeah. And I want to back up a little because you guys didn't have Conductor One, but prior to you joining, Sully, who we're talking about, Matthew Sullivan, who was running the infrastructure security team at the time, had looked at there was the option to go with a legacy provider. And that's always going to be a choice for companies who are facing this kind of, you're IPOing, you want to make sure you're doing your audits right. How are you going to automate this? And he made the choice to bring on Conductor One, and this was one of the reasons, was because he felt like we could do things as code. It's a more modern way to approach the problem.
It being super flexible and not having to host infrastructure to run it is also a big win.
Okay. Yeah. And a goal, like I think one of you said at some point, Sully said, we're going to fix identity. Like this doesn't have to be quite so painful. So what can we do to free up our managers? And always with an eye on security, that's the point, is to be more secure. So, but how do we do that in a way that's automated and much less pain for everybody else? Okay. So let's talk about what you actually did implement. So what was the rollout and what are the components of what you guys now have in place? Because that's what everyone's here to hear about, right? It's like, what are you actually doing?
Definitely. So we took a little bit of an advanced approach to this. So after the policies were in place, after people started getting used to AWS, we kind of both had the thought that if we're doing quarterly UARs, let's make access ephemeral to less than a quarter. So effectively, we removed everyone's standing access in AWS and replaced it with just in time. The way we did that through Conductor One was through basically after documentation and training processes, we appended expiration to existing access and trained people on how to renew it on their own. So at some point, if we have a cap of, say, 3 months, if someone wanted to renew at 80 days or 60 days or 30 days, they could do that themselves. Go into the Conductor One platform that was either in Slack or the UI itself, and just hit renew. Based on the policies we wrote, we actually looked at HRIS data to say, hey, this individual is an iOS mobile engineer. They should have access to the mobile resources. It was definitely a lot of discovery and a lot of approval, but we did get to a point where all standing access was gone. And that just started with AWS, but we've expanded that model to other platforms too.
We're so bold to just go for it with AWS.
Yeah.
You could have maybe done it with a less critical system, but you decided to go for it, right?
Yep.
And I know, and we'll get back to some of the details, but Spencer, just bring you in here too, because I know you guys have now rolled this out to other teams. So you've seen this process as well. So tell me about, what is that sort of prep look like, and what are some of the maybe like what's difficult, if anything, about rolling it out to these teams? Like, how do you get prepared?
That's a really good question, because the users of AWS and the users of some of our other apps that we've connected to Conductor One are very different. For example, another app that we rolled out was Stripe. And so we need that to, if there's customer escalations, or there's certain refunds that we need to do, or things regarding payments. Maybe we're paying shoppers, and there has to be some sort of manual work done. These people that are like in customer experience, they need access to Stripe, and then accounting needs access to Stripe because they need to book their journal entries.
Totally. And they probably don't want to let it go. You tell them.
No. Right. and I actually used to be a CPA, so like I get where they're coming from. But like when they're doing quarter close or month end close, like they're doing quarter end close or month end close.
Yeah.
Like it is very important. It's important to our shareholders as well. So their requests actually end up being, in some cases, almost feeling more urgent, ironically, than like some of the AWS access issues.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. But I think the communication of like, this is what just-in-time access is, because it is a very new concept still to many people. I think that the more preparation and the more communication you can do, office hours with users of like, this is what this means for you, it's actually going to be way less work for you overall. All you got to do is learn how to use like the Conductor One Slack bot, or the user interface. Yeah. And I think we were saying that some users actually use the CLI. Like the command line interface for Conductor One. So there's many ways that you can interact with the tool, and I think it's very user friendly, but it's just a little education.
Yeah. But then once you've got them rolling on it, seems like it's pretty smooth. And maybe Dom, you can speak to what happened when you first rolled it out to the engineers in AWS, like who actually needed access and who didn't?
Yeah, I mean, it came down to when we appended expiration to everyone that already had it and they were aware of the renewal process. You know, kind of a silver lining of this approach is towards the end of the expiration, actually after the expiration, we had folks that just didn't renew. And it kind of told us, hey, they probably or they hadn't used any of those components tied to the role, so they fall off organically, and maybe used a different role more of the time, or maybe used a separate role. And even if they still needed that access, they could go back in and when it was deemed appropriate, they could still ask for that extension. But we had a lot of
so just there you reduced access that that wasn't necessary.
Yep.
Cool. And that we're going to talk about the auditors in a minute, because I know that they had a good response to at least that side of this, but there were some other challenges with auditors. But I want to also quickly get in here your use of AI, because that's also a part of the system. So how are you guys using AI now as part of this?
Yeah, so we open sourced, shout out to Sully. We open sourced a tool called Gadget, which effectively scores, it provides a score, an AI-based score on whether someone should be provided an entitlement or not. So that includes their adjacency to other people in the org which have that entitlement, the recency of the last time they've had the entitlement, if at all. It really just generally looks at the org data, makes an assessment, and then provides a score. The reason I emphasize score is we use it for recommendation and not necessarily all the way through. There's still a human in the loop if needed, or there's a human in the loop all the time, but we're able to quickly make an assessment on top of the score to say, hey, that this is appropriate, or this is not appropriate. If there's a low score, say we'll dive in more like, hey, why do you need this particular?
Yeah, and you guys really were pioneering sort of like what are some of the uses of AI and in identity, and this is kind of what we've landed on with our agents too, and how people seem to feel comfortable using it, which is that it can really do this like analysis and assessment faster and more deeply than humans, and then humans get to use the results of that in order to make better decisions. So yeah, you guys really, and for anybody who wants to try out Gadget with the JIT at the end, I should add, for JIT, it is open source, and then similar to what, there you go, so just got it there, similar to what our agents are doing in the platform now as well. Okay, so let's talk about auditors. Maybe Spencer, because you have a background as an auditor, so your perspective on this is great, but like how have they reacted, and what have been some of the positives and the challenges there? Because that's a huge question for folks. Like when you do something like this, auditors are not going to be familiar with it.
Yeah, I think our auditors, we have many different auditors for different types of audits, and it has been ranging from very interested and like sort of wowed and amazed at how we, are able to quote unquote get rid of user access reviews. And then also concern, like lots of concern, where, they need to really understand and learn in depth about how does this actually work. And like one of the compromise, the big compromise that we had to do was implement certain stopgap controls or just some compensating controls. For example, on an annual basis, the Terraform rules that Dom and Sully originally created and Dom and I helped maintain of like, hey, this team gets auto approval for this role if they request it. Those rules are reviewed by various executives and leadership across the company based on like the org. Like if they're in ads engineering, then they'll say, hey, yes, anyone that's in the advertising engineering org can have this advertising related AWS role. And then that's documented annually. And so our auditors are okay with it. and because Terraform is a lot of why they're okay with all of this is because the rules are based in Terraform, and in our environment, we have like GitHub change controls. Every change has to be peer reviewed and like have automated tests that pass before it gets merged into production. So it's kind of there's more to it, but that's kind of the high level idea of how it works.
So the intent is that you have this annual certification essentially of these policies, review and certification of the policies, and then the policies are maintained as code with change control throughout the rest of the year. So in a sense, they are more secure and more consistently applied than if they were being manually done. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. And if I was still an auditor today, I would be able to document that, hey, this just-in-time access solution is actually addressing the risk way more effectively than any traditional user access review could ever accomplish, unless you have just someone that's a really good reviewer of access, and they have an innate sense of what's appropriate.
Right.
One way that we kind of looked at it was we could have these quarterly UARs, or effectively we're running thousands of UARs because each time someone requests an entitlement, it is going through a UAR, which is defined by code. It's just
it's like each request is a mini user access review. So that access is being reviewed more regularly, or at least as regularly as a quarterly review, but with much more control and much less effort, which is the key here. So more secure, more efficient. Mini URIR, exactly. Great, and let's talk about, since we're talking about auditors, how do they feel about AI? How, like, your use of AI, how has that gone?
You can take it, John.
Yeah, I would say, no, I think this is a greater question, or broader question than even Conductor One or JIT or identity. I think a lot of auditors, with whatever you're looking at, are okay with AI making assessments, but not being the one to click the button to click, like, oh, if someone receives access to something, they don't want to see, oh, AI declared that this is okay, but they are okay with AI made an assessment that says this is okay, and a human or an individual said yes. So it's definitely a shift, but it's something that we're going to have to deal with more and more, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure, they're trying to educate themselves about it and understand what are the uses and what are the potential pitfalls or security risks. So I think everybody's sort of learning together. Okay, I want to talk about like just overall impact on Instacart, but before we get,
Spencer, real quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get in
Sorry.
there. Just interrupt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So okay. Something that we do though, is we do allow Gadget, our AI like bot, to auto approve certain low risk roles that we have decided, okay, if it thinks that a certain person's access request has a low risk score based on certain criteria and where they sit in the organization and what kind of roles their peers have and what is the risk of the role, it'll approve it. And then that happens all throughout the year. And that sounds scary, but then we review it. We review the audit trail like on a certain frequency. We do it annually, I think. Or Sam, I think, it's annually. And it's never made any decisions that we think we're out of line. Yeah. And if there were, then we could adjust it. So that's another.
So it's like having that audit trail is key to building the trust in the system for you guys and for your auditors, like just monitoring, which actually that's a great segue, because I wanted to cover too, Spencer, we had talked about when you're rolling this out to a system, if whoever, whether it's the app owners or the auditors, are a little bit nervous about it, that you could run these things into, or actually, why don't you talk about the phases? Because you did say sometimes there's like a phase 1 and a phase 2 when you're rolling Conductor One out to a new app.
Yeah, I can just kind of the way we view or the way that we rolled it out was first allowing the systems to stay the same or as they are, but allowing Conductor One to kind of step in as an option to receive access. So if you have an existing process, you could leave it in place and also have Conductor One as an option to request AWS. We did that just so folks could get used to requesting and extending and renewing. It's a whole new concept. So we kind of ran with both, and then at a certain point, once people get used to it, we drop the old method or call it the legacy method.
And continue on. And for user access reviews, I think Spencer, we talked about that you can do that in tandem as well. You can continue to do these quarterly reviews while you're doing JIT and then compare, right? Is that kind of
right? Yeah, if your auditors are very conservative, like an option could be that you still run your traditional user access reviews for a certain period, but you also have JIT turned on. And at the end of the year, your auditors, when they do their testing, like they can see like, hey, actually access has been reduced by like 50% since they turned on JIT. And there's less risk here than there used to be. And that's literally what we saw with some of our applications that we onboarded to Conductor One and had ephemeral access. It's like half, like access was cut in half. All these people that their managers were like, oh yeah, access is appropriate every quarter. Actually, they didn't need the access.
They didn't even need it.
They want it. Yeah.
Right. Great. And that's it. Yeah, it's like we said, it's the spirit of the law, not the law itself. So if like the idea is to reduce access, like whatever the method is, if the method, if they're okay with the method, like the outcome is going to be the thing that convinces folks that this is the right way to do it. All right, I do want to touch on the impacts, but I quickly, just for those who aren't using Conductor One and familiar, Dom, maybe just say something about policies, what you like about the policies or how you've found them useful in this case.
Yeah, definitely. I would say they're super flexible in that we could use either HRAS data or group membership or membership of another entitlement to grant something. So just for example, if someone is in a certain department or is in, let's say, a certain user title or a number of years with the company, we could use that in policy. And it's very, very flexible, that's for sure.
Yeah, and even things like if somebody hasn't had training or they need to have training to get a certain role, so build that in.
We've also integrated, another reason I really like this is we can implement webhooks. So for example, we set up a webhook to check, to your point, has someone done a particular vendor training prior to getting this this entitlement? So we can check out our training platform, have it return true or false, and then make that assessment.
Which is that is the key to automation. I think that's like the ultimate goal. It's like how many of these things that would have had to be checked by a human can you now automate and have people get the access they need right away. Okay, so let's talk about just now that you've had the system in place a little bit. I mean, we've already kind of touched on it, but what are the benefits that you've seen from implementing it?
Yeah, I think kind of the side benefits or things that we didn't necessarily expect is that people, the number of tasks that happen is really incredible. So I wasn't expecting the number that we've seen, but folks have organically come to us asking to onboard their platforms into Conductor One because they see how just in time isn't just about just in time. It's literally self-service. So it's allowing people the self-service, and when you have the policies right, you're really expanding efficiency here. And security at the same time.
Right.
Just for the audience, Tom, when we say tasks, what do we mean by that? And how many roughly have we seen?
Close to 70,000 in a year and a half.
And a task is like an access request, right? And then
Yep.
it'll be like auto approved or whatever.
Yep.
And then also there are deprovisioning events, so auto provisioning and deprovisioning. Yeah,
Which
which is amazing. So that's how much our company is using Conductor One. It's really incredible.
Yeah, and those would have potentially been, I mean, you probably would have had fewer tasks if you were doing it all manually, because you would have had people with more standing access, not requesting access on those regular, but you still would have had thousands and thousands of tasks that people would have been handling manually.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's huge. Okay, and yeah, how does it look for like new employees coming on board? Is that process changed for them since there's not standing access anymore?
Yeah, I think for new folks, I think just having a lot of the access available in one place, or at least for our critical systems, has helped. I see a lot of people asking for multiple platforms at the same time. We have new hire days, and I always see the spike. But that's also an opportunity for us to, I kind of keep in the back of my mind, oh, it's a new hire day. Let's just make sure that all the HR data still aligns with the policies. And if there's someone that is in a new department, we can quickly pick up because it's sent to us as fallback. Oh, there's a new department that exists, and then we just kind of restart that is policy assessment and go from there.
Cool. All right, I want to get some questions in, but before we do that, I just want you guys to like anything else you want to add, or anything you would give as advice to somebody who wanted to start to implement some of this in their program.
Okay.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, I think taking, and I mentioned it earlier, the dual approach is like the least resistance. I think it's a really important thing to take note that, especially if a company has never seen JIT before, they're going to be intimidated and maybe that they don't want to go on this new platform to ask for something. Just give people the path to do the old way or the new way. And then once they get used to it, they get comfortable with it, and they see how easy it is to click accept in Slack, things change, and they tell their friends, and they tell their friends, and at some point you can cut off the old method because people just aren't using it anymore.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice. Okay, yeah, and it sounds like engineers are happy. Finance folks are getting used to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Finance folks are as happy as they can be, which is a low bar, I think.
Yeah. And what about, I should just, this is just more of a general question, but I think for every company is different, and like what IT handles and what security handles is like a shifting thing. How have IT folks felt about this change? Was there any pushback there?
Not really. I know we're a little bit of a unique structure in that we take governance or identity governance as a part of the security org, but I know sometimes that can be on the IT side or the security side. No, not necessarily any issues. I think we were made clear to them, like, hey, this is just a layer on top of your processes that already exist, and it's only for a critical system. So it's been pretty smooth. And then we've introduced them as well to the way that we implement this in Terraform, and they submit their own PRs. They're submitting code in GitHub, so it's really been a pretty good collaborative.
That's pretty cool. And if you think about all those tasks that maybe that would have been, a lot of those would have fallen on them.
Right. They know.
Yeah.
that's where this push is, like, oh, let's get this on there too, and this on there.
Yeah, they're like, please take that applications. Okay, so we've got Guy asked a question in the chat. What were some of the challenges that you faced in building out the personas? Like, how many did you end up with in the end?
Yeah, when building a persona, I think the way that we did it in the beginning is picking up. I think this is maybe a little bit, I don't want to go too far out of scope, but we pick up using other tooling or CloudTrail or something on the side to say, what have this group of people used? like what buckets have, when we're talking about AWS, what buckets have they touched? What databases have they touched? And you can kind of develop your own patterns to say, this, like, I use mobile engineering. So these mobile app developers use these resources. When you look at it in a historical sense, it's easy to just craft.
Got it. Yeah.
That's kind of how we picked it up.
Okay. So great. We've got some more in questions. So Jason says, how do you delineate what should be self-serviceable versus automated? So like Okta, for example, Okta group roles, do you ever grab request analytics from Conductor One to inform those decisions? Does that make sense?
So automated versus still human.
Versus,
is that?
I think so. That's a good question. Or maybe, yeah, I'm actually not sure. Jason, maybe you can clarify it for us. Because in this case, the self-service is automated.
Let me see.
But interesting to think about looking at request analytics to inform.
Oh, I see. I think I understand now.
Right. Okay.
We kind of treat them the same, just from the audit perspective. I believe we try to keep it as uniform as possible. There are ways that you can provide birthright access, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Spencer, that would have to be under a different control. If
we don't, I think if we're referring to birthright, if Jason is referring to birthright as like, you automatically will get this, like no matter what, when you join, I don't think we really do that with any of our systems that are like audited, like AWS, that are like sensitive systems. We just have like auto approval. So only if you ask for it, you will get it. If you're in an auto approved group,
Right.
Which, like, that's less. It's just kind of a philosophy thing, I think, and it depends on what do you want the experience to do for the users and what your tolerance for risk is and the type of application it is. Because if it's like a really low risk application, like I'm sure birthright access makes sense.
Right. And it's almost like they have to make a conscious decision to say, I need this app, rather than just giving them a whole package of everything and then them using half of it, is basically the approach we take.
It's supposed to be approved, but they have to do the step of requesting it.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, another question we have: what's your approach to integrating JIT access with Slack or Teams for automated request approval workflows?
Yeah, I think honestly, Conductor One has made that super easy. It just works. But whenever there's a request that comes in, it's the Slack app that will pop up, and for both the requester and approvers, it will say, like, do you approve this person's access? In the cases that there's some sensitive access and we need a human approver there, they click yes, no, and then on the other side, if you're a requester, you can literally go into Slack on the Conductor One app, choose the app in the drop down, and just select what you want. All of the same policies apply. Everything still applies as if you did it through the UI. So,
right. It's just a different user experience, but all of the back end is all operating the same way. Yeah. Hopefully, Varshit, that answered your question, but let us know. And then Chris asked, which HRS or org attributes beyond department and division do you use to drive Conductor One rules and policies? Did you add any fields or change the org structure to make this all work?
Luckily, when I arrived, we have a pretty extensive list of attributes to work with here. We could use start date, department. We have team and sub-team level attributes that we use as well. I would say actually the best extension we've used is what we've mentioned. We make API calls to a training platform to say, hey, have these individuals completed this training, and then it returning true or false is a layer of the policy. And it doesn't have to be just training platforms. It could be literally an API call to anything, I guess. Are they a member of this platform that might not be integrated in C1 yet? You can make a call out there. You can make a call to an ERP. It's unlimited. It's
geographic as well.
Oh yeah, geographic.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and yes, because you can pull attributes from any identity source in Connector One. It doesn't have to be something that's designated a directory. And I'll give this a little preview. We're officially announcing on Thursday what we call super directory. So if you go to our website, we have a product page about this. The super directory is kind of like taking that to the next level, which is you can have multiple directories and you can create multiple, you can already do this in the platform, but it's giving some more tools around it, making it more robust, creating like multiple different types of identities. So your employees, your contractors. So it's something you can already do, but we're giving people even more tools for making that very distinct. But that's talking to it's very easy to pull attributes and assign them to various types of users and policies so that you can get really granular with who gets granted what. All right, and we've got more in the chat here, I think, too. Austin says, what about bought and sold accounts or non-users using accounts? Is that? Or maybe, Austin, you can give us a little more.
But so I'm assuming you mean like non-human identity. We don't currently, we don't integrate non-human into JIT, only because typically the non-human identities are tied to services or scripts or so forth. It's definitely something we're thinking about, but you wouldn't want a script necessarily to say, can I have access? I mean, it's possible, but generally we haven't used that yet. For sure.
Okay. I think that's all the questions. Anything else that either of you two wants to add, or?
I think someone's typing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, we still got some time.
Oh,
so
yeah. I think someone, I might have missed the second half to a question earlier. Someone asked if we use C1 analytics to help define policy. We have looked at that, and if there's a super heavy list of requests from one group of people, whether they're a certain team or so forth, that we do take into consideration, hey, this group of people is always asking for this one thing, let's add them to the auto approval. We do that, but also reaching out to the stakeholder of that department to say, hey, is this appropriate? We noticed this, is this pattern's picked up? And then that gets approved, and then the auditors see, hey, we reached out. They said yes. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, so Oksana says, how mature is JIT for service accounts? I think that's kind of what you're speaking to.
We don't use it particularly we don't use this one particularly for service accounts, like non-human, but I think that it's definitely a developing space for sure.
Yeah, agreed. And yes, and Connector One is building all kinds of things into the platform for exactly these kinds of use cases, like how do you do the whole lifecycle management of service accounts, making sure they always have the right access and are deprovisioned from access that they shouldn't have anymore. And JIT is certainly part of that. Like, how do you make it temporary and ephemeral? And again, with AI agents coming online, a lot of AI stuff is going to be like something that maybe they only need access to something for seconds or minutes. And so JIT becomes a very important part of that. So yes, pay attention to the space. Absolutely. We might have just got one more question here. Let's see. Or no. Oh, Jason's asking, where did you end up grabbing the analytics from? Task logs and filter, or is there a better way?
Yeah, we do pull from task logs. We also do something of our own. It's kind of we call it a reconcile. So we actually pull every task into a script, or basically we pull every task and put it into a spreadsheet so we can quickly go through. And I know you could do that through, I believe you could do that right in the platform, just export the CSV and you can kind of model however you want, and definitely helps a lot.
Great. You guys, this has been awesome. I feel like we only scratched the surface because there's so much cool stuff that you guys are doing. But folks can find you on LinkedIn. So if anybody who has questions and wants to, just follow up, they can certainly find you there. And we're, like I said, we're going to send everyone a recording of this. We'd love to do more talks like this. So for all of you that were here, let us know what other topics you'd like us to cover. If you want to see other customers and kind of what they're doing with Conductor One, or just in general, like how the industry is thinking about things like AI and just-in-time access, we'd love to hear your feedback. I also want to give one special shout out from the crew, the Conductor One crew. Some of you here on the chat are customers of ours, and Spencer and Dom, obviously beloved customers of ours. We announced our Series B last week, $79 million fundraise. We could never have done that without you all. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We love our customers. We're so excited to basically have a mandate to just like take this and keep running with it, and transform this industry and give you guys all the tools you need to make your jobs easier and make all of your workforces more secure. Yeah, anything else? Marcus typing, but Spencer and Dom, I so appreciate you guys doing this. Always love talking to you. Yay, Marcus. We love C1 too. We love hearing that.
We do too.
All right, so we'll let you all go. Thank you so much for joining. And yeah, like follow up with us or with these two if you have any other questions or want to keep the conversation going. We'd love to do that. All right.
Awesome.
So good to see you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great day.